the magic trick is to me is like getting so hyper real with the story and connecting with something that is just scary. And once you feel that, it tells you you're heading in the right direction. The show is definitely based and grounded in my refugee asylee experience in America. And one thing I noticed is like Houston has had so many amazing artists that have exported so much music out of Houston. And it just felt so odd to me that the fourth largest city in America, the most diverse city in America, has never had a narrative sitcom filmed in Houston. Like, it was just kind of mind-blowing to me. So it was always like kind of my love letter to Houston of like the city that accepted me, embraced me, not only me, but my family. And now second generation, third generation, my family's growing there as we speak. And so it's just something that I've always dreamt of, doing something that was so honest and grounded and real and showed Houston in such a positive light.
I'm just riding in the Chevy with the roof low.
How you doing, brother? Let me show you something.
Hanging with the
Why you need to sell that crap?
Selling merch is the only thing I can do without papers. I need to support my family. Petro Emotion. It's my last one. Last one.
Cinematically, Houston has, this really bright sun, and people forget it's a coastal city as well. It's just on the Gulf, but nobody ever takes it seriously because we have Miami. So everybody's like, yeah. I always pitched it as like an urban Western. I just love the opportunity to bring that forth in television and not even thinking about it as a TV series, thinking about it like as a 2-part movie. And then, you've always seen immigrant TV shows as like super dramatic, people on boats, not going to make it, who knows what, people getting ripped from their kids. And of course, those are very real things that do happen, but also what happens when you get there and what does it mean to be an immigrant and be an asylee? And people think, when I say people, like I think the vast majority of Americans, when they think of immigrants, they get here and then they get their paperwork in a very short period of time, where it's not like that at all. Like, it takes a lot of work and dedication to actually become an American citizen, arguably more American than anybody else. You actually like earn it. It takes so many years and you have to be like perfect and flawless in your record to even attain citizenship. So it's a journey that's fun to play with, but also clearly very difficult and leaves a lot of emotional and psychological scars. And it was so interesting to go there as an actor and as a creator and a writer in the show, and still having a really, really great time doing it.
ما لقيتش بكل البلد محامية فلسطينية، ما لقيتش غير واحدة من بولندا.
الذكاء تشلح الكندرة. طيب احكي لها. She said she really loves your hair.
Thank you.
She wants you to take your shoes off and she wishes you weren't Polish.
Joking.
A lot of jokes.
Getting honored by the American Film Institute was the first, like, whoa, like to be sitting across James Cameron and Spielberg, that was just crazy to me. And I was sitting there talking to Slick, our director. I was like, we were sitting there in Houston because nobody's ever filmed a show in Houston. We're like literally trying to talk them into filming in their barber shop. And then a year later, we're sitting there getting a letter from Spielberg about how much he enjoyed the show. It's just brings tears to your eyes. Like literally, like it just makes it all so worth it. All that pain and all that struggle to get the show off the ground. And of course, to get a Peabody nomination is huge. I'm very, very excited about it and honored, of course. And just tip my hat to the entire production team. Everybody's efforts were the reason why we ended up getting this nomination. And then we went out to Andy Ruiz Jr., who's, I think number 3rd heavyweight boxer in the world, just happened to send a text and he's like, hey, I'm a big fan. Would you come out to the boxing match? Me and my girl just like kind of walking in. And to see the reaction of the Latinos, this predominant Latino audience there, were just losing their minds. Like, oh my God, you're one of us. Like somebody told this story finally. Like this is so, like we hit the nail right on the head. The real audience that matters to me is the reaction that I get on the street and how all the tickets are selling. The shows, the touring has been tremendous. Sold out my first arena and amphitheater in the Middle East, and then coming back here and feeling that and how people feel seen more than anything else. You would hope that, our story is so different. The show is done so well that it receives its time and advertising that it deserves. And you know, it's just like you make something special and let the people speak for themselves.
The asylum claim is based on your father's torture, so having the supporting documents really brings it all into focus for someone. Oh, I'm sorry, Mo. I thought that you knew about...
Can I see that?
There's some pretty sensitive stuff in here.
You know, the stuff with my father was real. Like him getting tortured and all that was real. How I found out about his torture, that was in episode 3. That's how I found out about my father's torture. Recreating that was deeply painful. You know, the confessional scene where he's just, you know, finding an outlet and his girlfriend's trying to help him. I realized that I never mourned it. And I realized that I never really gave it the appropriate time. Or even like being focused on it so much to where you like envision what he was going through in that moment.
My father was tortured. It happened years ago, but I just found out.
It pains me to hear that, Mom. How does that make you feel?
Just angry.
After the scene, everybody was just so moved by it and was calm and almost like hard to make eye contact with me. And I was just feeling, because I've never had been so vulnerable on camera like that before ever. And I just remember one of my mentors telling me, like, you know, be so honest in your comedy that it's hard to make eye contact with you. And I never had that experience until I filmed that. I was like, was it, like, oh my God, I was so getting self-conscious because I didn't know. And I'm a comedian. I was like, oh no, is that going to get memed to death? Me like crying is going to be like the Jordan meme now? Like, then I started having all these like things about it, like that are so ridiculous. But it was just this moment that was so real, you know, still gets me every time. But I'm just happy I did it. I'm happy I did it and I went there. The magic trick is, to me, is like getting so hyper real with the story and connecting with something that is just scary. And once you feel that, it tells you you're heading in the right direction. I know the emotion of it and the weight of it because I'm deeply involved in the writing. So it's not like it's an issue there. I just tend to let go and just feel it fully. So I didn't know how much it was going to affect me or how far I was going to take it. I didn't have like, okay, at this line, I'm going to feel this. And at that line, I'm going to feel that. It was just very natural. And the breakdown was very real.
I cannot continue these proceedings.
Huh? Of course you can. Why not?
Because I knew him.
Exactly. We're good people, so sign the paper. We'll all go to Cracker Barrel, get a country fried steak.
I'm sure you're good people. I'm sorry.
Judge, Your Honor, please, just sign the paper.
It is a conflict of interest.
The asylum court is just crazy. When we went to our case, that judge was a lawyer and he didn't know my father and he was wondering what happened. He got so choked up and we thought we were good. And then he removed himself. We're like, oh no. So we were in the writing room and everybody was like, we're using this, right? I mean, obviously, clearly we're using this. I'm like, yeah, we got to use it. Even my lawyer, he consulted on the show and to this day, he was like, yeah, well, Mo's case has like 2 anomalies in my 40 years of practicing immigration I've never seen since or before. So I was like, oh, great. I'm so happy we were able to check those off for you.
Our entire asylum case just imploded and you're starting a business? For 22 years, we've been telling ourselves everything's gonna be fine. It's gonna be okay. Well, it's never gonna happen. I got fired from the mobile shop. I'm selling fake watches out of my trunk. I had to take a job at a strip club. But don't worry, because apparently I'm not dreams material. I'm so sick and tired of having to work under the table to take care of the family, help you out.
That blow up with his mom in the kitchen in 108 was such a big moment and put things in perspective, like, oh, they're fine without you. Like, they'll be okay. Like, you put these things, you superimpose these things in your head, actually. You created these scenarios that you should be doing this because of his dad, like, putting that pressure on him as a kid. And he's now, because of his guilt of not really leaving the relationship with his father on a good note, feels even more stressed about providing for them, but he's not going about it the right way. Omar Elba did such a spectacular job with that role. He did so much research. He's just so good. And my mom also so good. We just were freestyling. It was a lot of it was like, we did a lot of freestyles, especially with like rewriting certain lines. I would just ask like, give me 5 minutes and I'd rewrite it. And then rewrite in my head. Or, we did a lot of like Harris. Everybody, it was a team effort, of course. And then there was certain things I know that need to be a certain way and just go with it, or give him different lines. And so I'd be like, okay, let's just roll. Let's have a few exits and let's see how it goes. And then those guys were so good. They were so funny that we just let them do their thing. And I said, somebody freestyle this. So like, we got to get the close up on this just so we could have it. It was just so fun. Yeah. It was a lot of fun, a lot of stress, but a lot of fun. Yeah.
I'm in Mexico.
New Mexico?
No, not New Mexico. Old Mexico. Like for real Mexico.
Across the border, Mexico? What are you doing in Mexico?
I was chasing these olive trees, and Nick came with me, and we got trapped in the back of this box truck, and shit got really out of hand.
It was so symbolic, the wall. There was a lot of symbolism in the show the entire time, right? So the olive branch, which is a symbol of peace. You have the olive oil and what it means for Palestinians back home. The olive oil itself, what it means to us. The wall overseas, the wall here. The idea of separation, and what do you do when he doesn't mean to deport himself, literally, and he puts himself in a situation where he's filled with fear and he wants to go, and ending on that fear and uncertainty was so exciting for me. And I had this vision to do it that way, and it was just like so interesting to me. And I really wanted people to use their imagination and keep it so open for all the possibilities for the season 2. And it felt very poetic to end on that uncertainty, because that is like in essence what an immigrant refugee asylee would go through. I do like a world where people get to use their imaginations too. Like there is a wonderful thing about like creating people like C Black, and they're just like, what the is gonna happen next? Like, what is that? What is going on? And how do you, like, what is he doing down there? Everybody always asks me, what is he doing in Mexico? Like, that's the thing on the street. Like, that is like the fun part, but also like leaving it in a way. It's like, how do you answer all those questions? You could just make it super simple and come back across the border if I wanted to and went away. And then just he gets back so easily. And he's just like, to show that. But that's not really meaningful and doesn't add the depth of like what a refugee, what an immigrant has to actually go through.
Olive theft is a huge problem. Yeah, where's that? Palestine?
Damn, that's a couple hours away.
No, not Palestine, Texas. Israel, man. Israel.
Oh, it's Shalom.
Yeah, it's a real branding issue.
My art has always been a form of healing. You know, the stand-up comedy has been always this outlet for me to speak about things that are very personal to me, that in turn creates comedy. And being an indigenous art form to America, one of 3, jazz, hip hop being the other 2, I've never heard of it coming here as a 9-year-old kid. So when I saw it, I immediately embraced it, and it's been a huge release for me for sure. To have like something that you can look forward to push these stories forward or have this outlet. Yeah, I'm so grateful that I have that. There's so many great things that stand-up did to prepare me for this situation. I started stand-up when I was 14 years old and started touring the South at 17, and then traveling without a passport at 18, 19 years old. You know, coming where I come from has put me in really, really difficult situations, and being able to like pull through that and be so spontaneous. And in some cases, like having to freestyle an hour or 2 of material when you don't really have it, to understand like narratively how to build it out, just making sure that it has a through line throughout has really prepared me for making television and as a performer as well, and to be willing to go there, you know? So I just really, really appreciate that. Everything's at risk for season 2. Like everything's at risk for Mo, and it is just like going to be a blast. So far, what we've come up with and we put together and the stuff that I've been visualizing for the character and the family is so good, and I'm so excited. My real life, like there's so much to mine. There's 20 years of living in that, and I was living it as a comedian, right? I was living it touring without a passport as a comedian, and to now live in this like fantasy of what if I didn't find stand-up and this is what I did for a living is a wildly fun thing to play with. Really just focusing in on the situations and where we could take this has just been so fun and so damn funny, and just realizing the consequences of him deporting himself has just been the best thing that could have happened to our character, like in my opinion. Like it's so good. It's so good. It's going to be hysterical, funny, thoughtful, so different than anything on television.